Okay.
Back to you, Lyndon.
Thank you very much. Okay, and what I would like to do, just for the benefit of everyone here, I'm going to go through the participant list so everybody knows who is online and their respective position. So obviously myself, and I'm going straight down the panelist line, Rosanna Clark, Aries Coleman, who's with CLA, Dana Harmeyer, Deputy City Attorney's Office, Daniel Reinhardt is a staff auditor, Emil Espiritu, Audit Committee member, Greg Bussink is the CLA engagement partner, Gretchen Shadome, Deputy City Auditor, Jeff Rottermel is the co-acting finance director, Councilman Jim Wood is the liaison from the City Council to the Audit Committee, Sharon Brown is the Audit Committee Chair, Sharon Hayes is our Fraud Investigation Division Audit Manager, Stephen Volge is a Senior Auditor from my office, Tony Gonzalez, Senior Auditor from my office, Wendy is the co-acting finance director with Jeff, and Colin User 3 is Karen Hill, who was the third member of the Audit Committee. Okay? So Wendy, if you want to unmute yourself, I will turn it over to you for agenda item 5, presentation of the fiscal year 20 CAF.
Okay. All right, let me share. Oh, I guess.
Do you need the presentation?
Yeah,
Wendy?
I emailed. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so we can go to the, good afternoon. Again, this is Wendy Hu. I'm the controller, also the co-acting director. So let's go to the next page.
All right, for some reason it's slow.
So the Code of Virginia section 15.2-2155 require all cities, including county, to have their accounts record audited by annually by independent CPA firm as of June 30. And also, according to the amended Code of Virginia 15.2-2510, the city needs to submit the final audit financial report to the Audit Public Accounts on or before December 15. So the city's CAFR has almost 395 pages. So here are the main section of the CAFR. Of course, first is the introduction section. The second piece is independent audit opinion. Then the management discussion and analysis, and also the basic financial statement, and required supplemental information, also including other required supplemental information. The last section is statistical information. So what does audit opinion cover? Of course, it covers basic financial statement and notes to the basic financial statement, combining an individual fund statement and the schedule. What are not covered, of course, are introduction section, MD&A, and required supplemental information. And the last is statistical section. So for FY 2020, the city have received over $78.9 million in CARES Act funding and other COVID-related grants for COVID-19 related expenses. Because of that, as we are able to issue single audit report because our auditor, COA, is still waiting for audit guidance from OMB regarding their expectation for how CARE Fund has been audited, need to be audited. And also one more thing, due to the COVID-19, the entire FY20 audit was conducted remotely. No one is in the office since everyone's working from home. That's what I have now. Before I turn over to CLA, I'm happy to answer any question you may have. And also, too, the formal document is forthcoming.
Okay. Okay, so we'll turn it over to Aries or Greg. You guys.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Greg Busink. I'm a principal of CLA. Eris Pullman is a director with CLA, and she oversaw the field work for the engagement. So we're the main team members that you guys are probably, I think we've met you all before, go through the process, but we had a team that helped us throughout the whole process. And fortunately, we had able to work with management of the city. And even with the COVID-19 remote working, what we found is that it was a good stress test on the city's systems and information systems, in that they were able to keep the information flowing to us and give us all the information we needed to conduct the audit. So we want to thank everyone within the city. We also work with the schools as well, so that gets incorporated. So city schools, audit department, all the various departments within the city help us. So we really appreciate everyone's help this year. This was an unusual year for sure for everybody. We got through it pretty well. Got a little bit more work to do. We'll talk about that. It's related to the single audit. But I'll kind of walk you through where we stand right now. So we haven't issued our opinion yet on the financial statements, but we have completed our quality control review. We're just clearing up some notes with that part of the process. So we're expecting the next day or so to be able to issue our opinion. So we'll get that to management so they can get that in with the comprehensive annual financial report of the CAFR. Wendy mentioned it's about 395 pages, so it's a little bit down this year because the single audit's not included, but it's a pretty hefty document. There's a lot to read there. She went over the sections, so I won't read our full opinion to you about that. But basically, our opinion, it will be unmodified. It's a clean opinion, so it's the best form of assurance that we can give. One thing that will be different, though, is that the CAFR will not include the single audit in there this year. So when we do issue the single audit report, it will include language, and we like to advise management that if they do circulate the single audit report, that they do circulate the CAFR, let the users know that the CAFR is available as well. There's a report that says it's available, so it puts the users on notice, but we're just pointing that out to everyone since it's going out a little differently this year than in the past. So it'll be 2 documents, not 1. So that's just something to keep in mind there. In our internal control testing so far to date, we have not identified any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, so no findings that we need to report to management or to governance. So that's, I think, key to the audit committee's role, to know that basically we didn't have any findings for this part of the engagement so far. So that includes our auditor of public accounts compliance testing that we do as well. So I think that's a feather in the cap of everyone within the city. I mentioned the single audit will be delayed, and that is OMB is delayed in submitting or providing the compliance supplement to everyone that needs it to complete that part of the audit. We've done and completed the majority of the testing for the other programs that we need to test for this year. We're just waiting on guidance for the CARES Act funding, and that's it's been delayed a couple times, but we've been working with management throughout the entire process. There were a number of frequently asked questions that came out from Treasury and the Treasury OIG and some other entities as well. So we've had lots of discussions with management on their approach, what they were going to consider for reimbursement for CARES, those things. So we think everyone's in a good position to complete that testing when the guidance come out. We think we can do it pretty quickly. It's just a matter of actually having the guidance at the end. So that's the process there. So in addition to the opinion on the financial statements or on the CAFR, we will also be issuing a compliance report for the Sheriff's Office operations, and that's consistent with what we've done in the past, and that's due by December 15th. The comparative transmittal, which is the APA roll-up of all the information within the CAFR that goes to the Commonwealth, that's due the 15th. We're working with management on that. We'll issue a landfill report, which we've done in the past. That's due December 31st. And then there's a REACT submission that'll happen early next year. Those are all consistent reports. So there's no new reporting for this year from what we had in the past. As far as standards go, there were no new standards that really came online this year that impacted GASB, who is compliant, or the folks that promulgate the standards for governments. They basically were nice enough, is I guess the word I want to use. They extended the due dates or the implementation dates for all the new standards, so nothing new really this year impacted you. Won't be a whole lot of significant impact for next year, but the year after we'll have some things coming online. I think those are the main things I wanted to touch on. Eris, is there anything else we need to cover?
No, just thank everyone at the city, the financial staff, Wendy, Kevin, Gretchen, who we work with closely as our audit liaison. So just thank everyone. It was a really crazy year, as been mentioned previous. And for us to actually have the city to have a CAFR ready to meet APA deadline is just a great thing any year, but definitely with this year with so many challenges and working remotely. So I want to thank everyone. It's good times.
Yes. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, and Greg, I'm assuming you've worked with finance in regards to presenting at the council meeting?
Yes.
On Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, and I do want to thank the finance staff as well, Wendy, Kevin, Kabasa, and Jeff. As everyone knows, obviously everything had to be done remotely, which presented challenges. Our finance director left at the beginning of the month, which presented more challenges. So everybody to be commended, and as well as Greg and Aries, your staff, being able to conduct the financial statement audit remotely. Councilman Wood, do you have your hand up? Do you have a question? Do you want to mute yourself?
Yeah, I did.
You can ask your question.
I
yes.
wanted to know if, first off, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
I wanted to make sure that you, are you going to have the opinion prior to the presentation on Tuesday?
Yes, that's our plan.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what did you say it was going to be an unqualified opinion?
Correct.
Okay.
And the term now is unmodified. They changed it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm old. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, yes, so they will have it. They will actually have the opinion by Tuesday when it's presented to council. Okay, great.
Jim.
Any other questions?
Councilman Wood. The single audits won't be available yet. So the single audit section, which is the federal program, will come out hopefully in December, sometime this month.
What's included in the federal program in that audit? I'm sorry.
That is the audit that's required by OMB of all federal funds that come into the city.
So would that
including the CARES Act funds?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I can imagine that would be kind of a nightmare now.
So OMB has to issue the guidance of what to audit, and that's what we're waiting on. They haven't issued it yet.
So that's why it's not done. It's not because we're behind.
Exactly. Right.
Yes, it's nothing from finance or CLA's part. They're waiting for OMB to provide the directive.
So, and that will, and you'll be able to say that during the presentation?
Yes, we'll make sure that's
yes.
good.
Greg and Aries as well. Just make that clear, Greg and Aries, for the other council members.
Sure thing.
So that they understand it.
Okay. It's been a big discussion topic this year, so we'll make sure we cover it.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. So thank you very much, Finance CLA. We're going to move forward. Anybody that wishes to stay on, feel free to stay on for my update. If not, we want to thank you for joining. Okay, so the first thing especially while we have Councilmember Wood here, is to go over the budget. Let's see, and I don't know why this is taking so long to update. Okay, so the next topic under the city auditor update, first one is the fiscal year 21 proposed budget. And as everyone was aware, when COVID-19 came and the city was trying to plan for the budget, the shortfall in the budget revenue, cuts were made across the city to ensure we have realized some savings because of the shortfall in the anticipated revenue. So we did lose a position that was cut that was maybe not the same FTE, but brought us down an FTE, and it was just only a few years ago that we were added an FTE. So in this budget, we are including that FTE that was eliminated. We're making a request for that to be restored. So first of all, we did have to put in a budget, I believe it was a 5% of target. And again, because we have no room to cut and we no longer had an FTE, we did have to reduce our contracted manpower, because really that was the only area where we could cut. We didn't have any open FTEs or where we could realize some savings. So we did have to put a reduction in FTE just to submit the budget equal to the target we were provided. Okay, so what we're requesting is for service level 2 is that position be added back, and then service level 3, service level 2, you have to add the contracted manpower, and then service level 3 to add back the full-time FTEs. Okay, so that's what we're going to ask, and once again, we're going to ask for your support if we do get some pushback, because it was through your support and Councilman Wood's support that we got that position, or we got an FTE 2 fiscal years ago. Okay. Any questions on the budget? We're bare bones. We're at 806,999, which is a bare bones budget, primarily made up of payroll and benefits. Okay. All right, any questions? So, Councilmember Wood, if we need help, I know where to find you. All right, the other component of our budget is the, yes. What's that?
It was me, never mind.
Okay. Okay, the other component of our budget, as you know, we also oversee the external audit, independent financial services. That is always fully funded. We do have a 2-year contract term, which has expired, and we are now to the additional 1-year renewals if we choose to exercise those options. Okay, and just for FYI, the full contract amount is about $171,000. Okay. All right, moving to the fiscal year 20 schedule update. We are halfway through the fiscal year. So the audits that, just to recap, that have been issued: police property and evidence, our GASB 75. We presented the Juvenile Detention Center last audit committee. The 2 audits that have been completed since the last audit, which we will touch on, that Tony Gonzalez completed, We looked at the COVID-19 city economic support for city services. This was the funding the council granted to provide city relief for city services, and that included the utilities. And we also looked at the real estate and personal property tax economic support. Again, another program passed by the council. Okay, and that was for personal property tax as well as real estate property tax relief. The audits that we have a entrance conference scheduled for, I believe it's next week, the Visitor Information Center. We're looking at the EDIP Part E grants. Then we're going to actually look at the CARES program in general in regards to how have we been tracking, what processes do we have in place to support those expenses, especially if we ever get audited from the federal level. Okay. We also have in progress the public health emergency operations and leave policy. And Gretchen is wrapping that up. And you may have known we just kicked off the audit of the police body-worn camera program. The three that are still remaining are the surface water regulatory compliance program that's in Public Works. We have an entrance conference for the police investigation review panel, and then police property and evidence. So that is where we stand in regards to the fiscal year 20 audit schedule, even though we have been working under different conditions. I'm proud of everybody from my staff of the progress we have made and we continue to make. Okay? Any questions before we get into the two audits that were completed from the last audit committee? All right. So let's get into
Sorry, Lyndon.
Those. Yes.
Real quick, just for my education, you mentioned the audit on the federal level. Have you guys ever? I'm sure you've had it, but when was the last time? And how does that work? Over.
Are you talking about?
Gretchen, do you want to touch on that?
Okay, so the single audit happens every year.
No, not from the single audit. He was asking, do we ever have federal auditors that come in?
Oh, yes.
Where they physically say, okay, we've given you CARES Act money,
right? And
every stipulation says it's subject to being audited.
Right. So
have we had federal audits?
Yes. And is Jeff still on? No.
Yeah, Jeff's on.
So Jeff can probably speak to how recently the FEMA auditors have been in for FEMA funds, but each federal program will occasionally send in a team of auditors to look at specific grants that we receive.
I know we have housing services
gets
right?
audited annually by one or another of the different programs, as does mental health, mental retardation, or human services as a whole. And then also our FEMA funds get come in. Now, as far as the CARES Act goes, nobody's been in yet, but I'm certain that at some point in the next year or two, there will be somebody here to look at it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, if it's federal dollars, it is subjected to being audited by one of their auditors. Okay. All right. So, as I mentioned, the city, just like the federal government and the state, tried to respond as quickly as they could in regards to offering relief to our taxpayers. So they came up with two different programs, and I'm going to let Tony Gonzalez, who was senior auditor that worked on both of these, reviewing both of these programs, go over the results of each of those. Okay. So, Tony, if you want to unmute yourself, you can talk about each of these audits.
Thank you, Lyndon. The first audit that I'm going to talk about is the Agreed Upon Procedures for City Services Bill Pandemic Relief Program. The purpose of this audit was to review if the process for reviewing and applying for the City Services Bill Pandemic Relief Program is according to policy. The program provides financial assistance to eligible residential customers who are experiencing financial hardships due to the impacts of COVID-19. The results, we found that we determined that the process for reviewing and approving applications is according to policy. However, we identified one finding, and that is the funding may be excessive. The program has $4 million funding appropriated by the city, and we look at the first 4 months of it. And based on the first 4 months from July 2020 to October 2020, the total amount disbursed was just over $83,000, which constitutes only 2.1% of the funding. So if you divide the $4 million based on and divide it according to the highest disbursed month, which was October, it would take 151 months or approximately 13 years to exhaust that funding. So that we just want to point it out. So our management, our recommendation to management is consider the program's funding situation in evaluating its status and future plans, which may impact the city's financial goals. Any question on this?
Is there a time limit of when the funds have to be used? This is Karen. Sorry.
No, the program is initially the program was only for I believe it was only for a short time, and then but the turnout was not as expected. Therefore, it was just continually being extended. The program is extended. It has been extended a few times
and I think
already.
They just announced they were going to extend it, I guess, another month or so, because the funding is city, that they're able to go past the 12/31 if it was just strictly CARES fund. So I think the last notification of extension was going into January.
Yeah, I think it
because as you can see, there's a lot of funding in there, and the city has done a good job in advertising it, because I believe every homeowner received a postcard. I know I did. And they've been doing news releases and so forth. But other than that, I think they've done a great job of the applications they've received. Maybe, not as many folks needed it as they thought, because, like I said, the word has been out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The second audit that we've just completed is the Real Estate and Personal Property Tax Relief Program. Same purpose is to assist citizens of Virginia Beach who are experiencing financial hardships due to the impacts of COVID-19. The results from our audit, we deemed that the process for reviewing and approving applications is according to policy as well. And we identified one exception. The exception we found was some applications did not undergo supervisory review to ensure that they were processed correctly by the tax relief processors. So when we ran the year-to-date Virginia Beach Tax Relief Applications Report on September 28, we found that 153 of 713, which constitutes 21%, of the approved applications did not undergo supervisory review. So we asked management, and they stated that the various challenges associated with learning and implementing the new process, coupled with the goal of providing timely relief, was the reason for this omission. In our testing, we also conducted samples testing. We tested 53 samples, and we identified 3, which constitutes 6% of the 53 samples, that were paid erroneously due to inadequate supporting documentation, and the erroneous payment amounted to $1,177. And we told them that, this is why it's important to have supervisory review, because all 3 of those exceptions did not undergo supervisory review. Next slide, please. Okay. So our recommendation is management should ensure that applications undergo supervisory review prior to payment. Recoup their erroneous payments that we've identified, and we recommended to them, since we only found 3 of 53 samples, we recommended that they could review on a sample basis the ones that they haven't reviewed, to go back and review them on a sample basis, and we provided the following guidelines that's stated here. Questions?
Tony, a quick question for you.
Yes, Sam.
I know you guys just do the reporting aspect of it, but in terms of the recoup, did you get any feedback that they were going to go back and recoup that?
Yes, we did. We made sure that they are going to recoup that. They're in the process right now of recouping. I haven't checked with them on what stage they are in.
Okay, but, that's okay. I just wanted to I didn't understand if you mentioned it before, because I know what you do. You're just reporting, but you don't do the decision is up to the department or whatever. I just wanted to see if you had any feedback on that. Thanks.
It's going to be actually, in every finding we have, we follow up on them, and we follow it up whenever we have the opportunity, but also we also have a yearly follow-up process for all our findings to determine what status they are in as far as their corrective action plan is concerned.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and then the third one that was related to relief was another program that was aimed at businesses. The 2 that Tony has completed were the relief programs for individuals, and we're wrapping up the third component of Tony's review, which were grants to businesses. Okay, so you will be getting that report, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. So I think the city has done a good job in trying to address relief programs for individuals as well as cities. Okay. All right, so Tony did a good job at that, so I want to thank him.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so the next one is our fraud, waste, and abuse update. So Sharon, if you want to unmute yourself, I'll let you go over your status update and anything else that you want to share from FID.
Okay. Thank you, Lyndon. First, I'd like to thank the staff of FID, which is Daniel Reinhardt, and 2 contract workers, Bobby Beto and Patrick Pierce. They have put in tremendous effort during this time of the pandemic. It's pretty hard for us to do what we do without meeting with people. So we're actually we come in, lately we've been coming in 2 days a week, because it's pretty hard to handle interviews or interrogations, whatever you like to call them, via webcam or via Zoom. It's pretty hard to do, and definitely disciplinary action. When we we're looking at the numbers, and if the numbers continually go up, then we'll have to make some more assessments on whether we will move more towards webcam. It's hard to do Zoom because we're not sure of the privacy of Zoom. But I'd like to thank the staff. They've been extremely diligent in maneuvering where we had to maneuver. I think my slide a little bit is cut off, but that's okay. To date, and I wish I had some wood near me because every time I said we're studying out, we get a lot of phone calls. So I'm not going to say that. But up to now, we have 25 investigations, which 16 of them are closed. Some of them are open because they take a lot of extensive work. Right now, we're working on a public work investigation, and it takes a lot of analysis, and Danny and Patrick are working on that one. So when you have a lot of paperwork and analysis, and like I said, because we're used to being in the office, being able to reach people, we have to coordinate and try to pick up documents, or because we can't just take everything online, because especially if it's medical, I get to see medical records, all types of stuff, personnel records. Lately, we've been getting subpoenaed from the state. I just received a subpoena this morning, so then I have to work with the attorneys on that. This is something new. The state never subpoenaed me before. They always subpoenaed the department, but now they're subpoenaing me for my records, and my records are a little bit different because they're covered, so we have to get the attorneys involved when that happens. So far, like I said, we have 25 or 16 of them closed. I think my recovery is cut off a little bit. We did recover some funds. It went back into IT. It was $319, I believe. $319 of recovery fund. We had to make an employee pay back some money. Unfortunately, we also uncovered an investigation where the city ended up owing over $6,000 of overtime to an employee. So I didn't include that, but we did find that we had referred that to HR, and they came back on top of our finding with a $6,000 finding in reference, but we actually found the issue. So that's all that's going on in FID right now. Does anybody have any questions?
Sharon, this is Karen.
Hi, Karen.
How is it compared to last year? It seems like, and then maybe my memory's off, seems a lot lower as far as allegations received, or do you have that information?
Yes, the allegations right now to date are lower, but it depends on which season we're in. Okay. Now, if you look at last year compared to this time, they are lower, but they're getting more intense because we've also had to work with Gretchen because when they find concerns concerning PHE leave or anything like that, we have to go through that. Currently, I'm working on a big human services case. So okay. I don't know what's going on. The level of the cases are going up, so they're requiring more time. But yes, if you look at the numbers, and I think it's because maybe there's not so many people, and some people are working from home. I have no idea.
They're working from home, and we just can't, they're not being caught.
Right.
But they're definitely, they're definitely staying busy.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just didn't know if you knew why they had dropped, but you're thinking.
I do probably think it has to do with the fact that most people are working remotely. So a lot of the nature of the cases are changing. But as far as, like some of the theft stuff, because they're not in there, the office to steal, that has gone down.
Gotcha. Okay. So, all right. Makes sense.
And then,
you're welcome. Thank you.
So I want to thank Sharon and Danny and Bobby and Patrick. And Bobby and Patrick are key, and that's why we have the contracted manpower, because when they are doing interviews, I would say for the most part, there's always two people in the interview. And if it was just Sharon and Danny, logistically, they couldn't be in all the interviews. So it's important for us to have that flexibility to have them so they can be in the interview with both Sharon or Dan. Okay, and that's what we use them a lot for, and that's why it's key. We've got to get that funding back. Okay.
Do you know when you'll have an answer for that, Lyndon, as far as the funding?
If everything's going through the budget process, we won't officially have an answer until they pass the budget, which is in the May time period. But I believe it's in January we'll start having the hearings where they will let us know what they approve. So those budget hearings start in January, but we won't officially know until it's passed.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So, but I think we, in comparison to the big scheme of things, the dollar amounts we're asking are minimal. So, okay. All right. Thank you, Sharon. All right. So let me just try to get down to the next. Doesn't like the mouse doesn't like moving. I don't know, Roseanne, if you didn't get it to move down, I don't know why. Okay, there it is. All right, so just as a reminder, we're getting ready to wrap up administrative items, the financial disclosure statements. Those will be going out for the next calendar year, so just be on the lookout for that. If you have any issues or any questions completing the forms, you can call Rod or Dana. Okay. And let's see, we've got the dates for the next year. Other than that, those were the last items. Gretchen, did you have anything else?
No.
To add? Okay.
I don't think so.
All right, so I'll give my closing comments, and then I will turn it back over to you, Sharon. So as we come to the close in calendar year 2020, all we can say is what a year for everybody. Personally, professionally, I know we have all been through a lot. And so I do want to, once again, publicly thank my staff for continuing to be resilient, responding to change in our environment that we were operating under, and doing our best to continue to be value added to the city. We went through a lot. Hopefully 2021 will be brighter, but regardless, I think everybody can continue to put in the effort, and as you can tell from our accomplishments, that I don't think we've missed a beat. So I want to thank my staff for their efforts during the calendar year 2020, for being flexible. We went to the remote work environment. We conducted our audits remotely. Everybody still is coming in as needed to the office, when they need to. But I want to thank everyone. And I want to thank the audit committee, Sharon, Emily, and Karen as well, for, volunteering to serve on the audit committee. Council sees it as a important role. I know Councilman Wood told me he had to leave early to go to an event, but he wanted me to thank the members of the audit committee as well as my staff for your efforts during the year. So thank you and happy holidays. And Sharon, I'll turn it back over to you for closing comments and adjournment.
Thank you, Lyndon. Certainly appreciate everything you've said, and certainly those are very true words. We thank you and your staff and all the people that is in this presentation today, and for the diligent support that you provide to the city. And certainly, please let us know if you need any assistance from us as far as budget assistance or whatever you might need. We are really proud of you, and we look forward to many great things from your office. Would any of the other audit committee members like to add anything? Karen, Emil?
I'd like to second it. I second what Sharon says.
Absolutely. I certainly appreciate the flexibility, support your team, Lyndon, has given us, in particular me, to help me understand my role in the audit committee. Appreciate the support. Over.
Thank you. Well, certainly we appreciate what you do, and the meeting is adjourned. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays. Happy holidays, everyone, and have a safe holiday and a safe New Year. Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye. Happy holidays. Bye.
Bye.